What if I told you, despite the adults in Codename Kids Next Door trying to literally eat the children, they're in the right about a surprisingly large amount of the schemes throughout the show. Today we're gonna go through season 4 of K&D and determine whether the adults were ultimately in the right or wrong. So sit back and relax, and feel free to check out the other 3 parts in the description below.
The kids next door are moving into M.A.C.A.R.R.O.N.I.
Let's go, y'all! Yay!
And their mission is to investigate, protect, and dream up all sorts of new adventures for themselves and any other kids they come across. Catch a new to the goose episode of Codename Kids Next Door, weekdays at 5:30. Kid Next Door, Battle Station!
Episode 1, R.A.B.B.I.T, Rescue Aid's beloved bunny in trouble. Season 4 starts on another Indiana Jones parody, this time referencing Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Regardless of your knowledge on the Indy franchise, this film in particular is a funny one to parody in a cartoon. Like, this film was so graphic, it played a big role in the creation of the PG-13 rating, so naturally K&D parodies this movie with our old friend Heinrich von Marzipan stealing the first grader's class pet as he seeks to sacrifice it in a volcano. I've talked ad nauseum about the beautiful backgrounds in Kids Next Door, but this episode takes it a step further. Like, I didn't even know that was possible. Numbers 2 and 5 go through this jungle gym jungle that not only has beautiful perspective and depth, but it moves too. That might not sound too crazy for a cartoon to move, but backgrounds are often done by different artists than the animators. So in order to animate this jungle gym jungle, we see a lot of care has gone into the perspective and animation of these metal poles, with this slight parallax with the background, which is really nice. Heinrich wants to dip the pet rabbit into the chocolate volcano, which is on the upper half of dark things the villains have done so far. Like, dipping the pet rabbit in chocolate and eating it's just below sending every employee's daughter to space, where they'd probably die because air and stuff. So Hoagie and Abigail save the rabbit from falling into the chocolate volcano, but before Heinrich can dunk them all into the chocolate himself, one of the first graders pushes him into the volcano, and then we see the pet rabbit brings peace and prosperity back to the desolate first grade landscape. This episode ends here, which is crazy. Like, I guess Heinrich is just dead. Okay. Alright, never mind, he's good. They actually continue this episode at a later date in the season, which is kinda weird and actually really cool, but we'll get to that soon enough. Overall, it's a fine episode. Like, there's some beautiful sections, but it's pretty simple and not as funny or adventurous as a lot of the other episodes we'll see. The question throughout the series has been, how many times are the adults in Kids Next Door in the wrong? And while I mark the delightful children as an extension of the adults, I don't necessarily consider Heinrich an adult, so I gotta mark this as a non-applicable entry, but if he was an adult, he'd obviously be in the wrong here. Episode 1B, F.L.U.S.H. Foolish Loser Undoes Sinister Hope. The supervillains have a secret meeting to destroy the kids next door once and for all, but get interrupted by the Toilinator. It's so funny to see the fear and dread on all the villains' faces when the doorbell rings. Like, they don't think the kids may know they're here, they know the Toilinator's gonna be here. And despite telling him the meeting takes place in Antarctica, he is inevitable. The supervillains break into the kids' base as they send Toilinator off to get coffee, cause that's something even he can't screw up. But Toilinator enters the treehouse, determined to defeat the kids next door. He beats up the supervillains thinking the kids have really good disguises here, but in the Toilinator's defense, he previously fell for a disguise #1 war, which was just a shirt that said, "I'm not #1, so the Toilinator's probably hyper aware of any disguise and scheme. But in Mr. Boss's defense, these sunglasses look really cool on him. So the episode ends with the kids next door coming home from school, where they can easily kick out the villains weakened by the Toilinator. And yeah, I never really thought the villains could probably just break into the treehouse on any school day without much pushback. Like, the cats scare the hamsters away, and Hippie Hop's been brutally crushed here like we always see. The adults are obviously in the wrong here. Like, they broke into the kids' base, I don't think there's any controversy with that decision. It's just not that interesting of an evil compared to, like, stuffing kids into root beer bottles and sealing them away, for instance. Episode 2A, Food Fight. Fiendish old ogres disgusting food is thrown everywhere. This episode's a full-on musical episode featuring the talents of the musical operatives R.A.B.B.I.T, which is just a backward spelling of GWAR, a heavy metal band that some consider to be shock rock for their grotesque lyrics, which I've been trying to find good examples of that also won't get this video taken down, which is harder than it seems. This episode takes place during lunchtime, where the cafeteria has been taken over by Grandma Stuffums, who really wants the kids to eat. The animation in this episode is fantastic and really just feels like an 11-minute boss battle. After 6 minutes of just straight shredding on the electric guitar, you'd think the music for this episode's over, but no, that's just the warm-up, because we got Slamwich, the grilled cheese sandwich that actually does look pretty disgusting here. Like the first time we saw Slamwich, I did say I thought it looked pretty good, but here he's a bit more moldy and gross, and according to the lyrics, this sandwich is made with puppy feet.
I've got pork fat and gravy flowing through my veins. I serve dead monkey pudding and platypus brains. I'm Grandmother Stuffum. Grandmother Stuffum!
It's so cool that the vibes of this band perfectly align with the shocking disgust of Grandma Stuffums. Like, it's always cool to see cartoons and musical acts come together like this. Mr. Warburton shares he's a big fan of the band, and they didn't have the master tapes for the songs they wanted to make new lyrics for, so they actually re-recorded the songs for this episode. As Mr. Warburton laments, he's still mad at himself for not flying down to watch them record. While this genre of music's not something I really enjoy listening to, on account of being an empath or something, their musical talent's undeniable. Like, this episode just sounds amazing. I've been working on some big musical cartoon videos that I hope will be finished in the next couple of months, like Class of 3000, Hi Hi Puffy Ami Yumi, even Sonic Underground. And I think this episode kind of made me realize, while my musical taste may be somewhat limited, I'll gladly listen to anything if it's animated, even the singing in this episode's also pretty darn good, which is all performed by Grandma Stuffum's voice actress, Gray Delisle, who voices a few random characters in K&D like Lizzie and the crazy old cat lady, but has some other iconic roles across the board, like Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender, or Vicky on The Fairly Odd Parents, even 45 different women in Johnny Bravo. I guess it shouldn't be too much of a surprise she makes her own music, and even does some concerts, and she recently made a really cool song and music video called Reach for the Sky that I actually really like.
Get your hands up before it all goes down.
Anyways, Joaquin the hamster uses number 2's age ray from Operation Kiss and turns into a giant grilled cheese eating bodybuilder, and while Grandma Stuffums is defeated, I like that she doesn't really have malice behind her actions.
See you tomorrow, children! We're having Scream of Spinach! Oh!
Get a new cookbook, lady!
She's just a grandma that wants the kids to eat as much as possible to make sure they don't go hungry. Last time I argued Grandma Stuffums was innocent because she had good intentions to feed the kids. It was more that delightful children lied and said the kids next door were starving children, but here she's just kind of forcing the kids to eat, not taking into account whether the kids were actually hungry or not, or the safety of this food, like this school needs some Michelle Obama. So yeah, good intentions but poor execution and communication has got to mark Grandma Stuffums as in the wrong here. Episode 2B Clues, Cutlery's location uncovers elementary solution. Number 2's mom is hosting her boss's family over for dinner, which just happens to be number 3's family, as her mom's the head of accounting. It's a fun little dynamic that Hoagie and Kookie's families work together, especially when you remember Wallaby's dad also works in Mr. Boss's building, and it really is a crazy assortment of characters here, who we've already shared so many stories with, like Hoagie's tapioca-loving grandma, even the Tommy.
I eat alone, for I am the Tommy. Get down here now! Okay, Grandma.
This is maybe my favorite 5 seconds in the whole series. The Tommy is just so funny to me, and me and my friends always cheer when he's on screen. Like, tell me that did not go hard. The lights go out for a moment, and when they come back on, we see number 3's rainbow monkeys on the table where the turkey should be, stabbed with a fork, leading number 2 to don his detective hat as he tries to solve this dinner murder mystery. Every character has a relatively valid motive to stab the rainbow monkey, like Kookie's parents hate the kids bickering over the toy, but we weren't it's just because the dad dad wants them to get along, or the mom would like to have a turn because she didn't have much of a childhood herself. Hoagie presses Tommy, who disappeared when the lights were out, but it's revealed he didn't take the rainbow monkey, but Hoagie's candy and soda.
I mean hungry. I mean thirsty. I mean hungry, thirsty. I want the truth. I was hungry. I am thirsty.
So this scene is a parody of a famous scene from the sister-daughter scene from the movie Chinatown, which really goes to show the attention to detail put into number 2's noir episodes in Persona, but it's also like an extremely dark scene, like maybe one of the darkest scenes parodied on a Cartoon Network show. In the end, we learn Mushi was the culprit behind the stabbing because she hugged the rainbow monkey when the lights went out, but the rainbow monkey made sounds when you hug it, so she stabbed it to avoid revealing she took it. We see this live-action recreation in the episode of the events that transpired, and this is one of the craziest shots in the whole show. It's so rare to see cartoons ever have live-action segments, and they're usually pretty hilarious, if not just because of how jarring they are. Also, the actor portraying Mushi goes by Santos, and from his IMDb, we see he's played a few minor roles in other dramas, like a guy from the 5th season of The Sopranos who gets stabbed after buying fake cocaine. So 2004 was a pretty wild year for this man. He went from getting stabbed in The Sopranos to months later stabbing a rainbow monkey on Codename Kids Next Door. You can actually see in this episode Mushi's fork is missing from the table, which is such a cool little detail, and overall, it's a really fun episode. Mushi's a little kid, so the ruling here has gotta be non-applicable, though you could make an argument number 3 was somewhat wrong to not share the toy with Mushi. Though to be fair, Cookie did get concussed by Hoagie's grandma earlier in the episode. Like we've talked about how crazy it is Count Space-A-Lot spanks other people's kids. What about Lydia beating kids over the head with her cane? So yeah, actually I'm changing my ruling here. The adults in this episode, aka Lydia, are guilty. Episode 3A, Nugget. Numba uncovers glistening golden edible tree. Numba what? You can't just say Numba. Anyways, Numba, aka Number 4, nearly drowns in a shallow creek that's full of golden nuggets in the form of chicken nuggets, ushering in the Kids Next Door version of the mid-19th century gold rush. The pun works really well here since gold nuggets are a thing, but they made it a little more childish, and I gotta admit, these do look really good. We see the rest of the Kids Next Door have already adapted to the Western lifestyle. Like, number 1's design somehow got even tougher, and it's just really funny to have everyone already committed to the bit. Even Kooky, Lizzie, and Mushi. The Delightful Children pull up wearing one giant belt, which is hilarious, and they have a big iron on their hip, but it shoots chicken. The Delightful Children arrest the Kids Next Door, as the other kids are enslaved to mine for nuggets, but they bribe the guard with a nugget, leading to a final Western showdown between number 4 and the Delightful Children. Number 4 shoots the Delightfuls with ketchup, saving the town and becoming a hero, but it's only temporary, as the new fad had broken out of onion rings being spotted just south of the border. So number 4 ends the episode never getting to actually try a chicken nugget as he walks off to enjoy the rest of his Saturday, and dang, I really want a chicken nugget now. The Delightful Children are obviously in the wrong for enslaving the children, and for the record, I am considering them an extension of the adults for the purpose of these videos. I know they're children, and the events from the end of this show will probably change this result, but like, if you know half the entries would be non-applicable if we didn't consider them adults here, we just gotta do it. Episode 3B, M.A.C.A.R.R.O.N.I, Museum's artwork cruelly and recklessly ripped off, nearly impossibly. This episode starts with the Kids Next Door and the supervillains engaging in a hostage trade in the mall, which really looks like the mall from Left 4 Dead 2 to me. The kid they save is number 13, this really annoying dorky kid who reveals the adults are having a top secret macaroni dinner that night, stealing these noodles from the Macaroni Museum of Art, which is a great concept. Like, I'd totally go to this in real life. Number 3 fights Mr. Boss over the rainbow monkey Lisa, and as we know, Kooky becomes a berserker in order to protect rainbow monkeys, and while she can easily defeat Mr. Boss one-on-one here, number 13 waltzes in and drops the painting, breaking it over number 3's head. The villains all escape with the macaroni, and despite the kids losing here, they're actually happy to lose, cause number 13 escaped with the adults. Number 5 says she can just remake the macaroni painting that got destroyed, but I do wonder if it's just relatively easy to recreate the macaroni art. Like, it seems like this would be really hard to do. But now that I think about it, why did the adults go out of their way to get macaroni from the museum? I know they got a grocery store. Like, it just seems like so much extra effort to pick macaroni off of all these paintings. Like, just buy a couple bags at the store. The villains are obviously in the wrong for this, like, not just from a moral standpoint, but just logically, it's kinda crazy. Episode 4A Pool. Prevent opposite operatives larceny. The kids have a pool party at number 4's house, which is pretty funny since, as we know, Wallaby can't swim. Lizzie gets dragged down into the water to an underground negative dimension by her reflection, so a new fear has been unlocked. We encounter negative number 1 and Easel, aka the D and K, the destructively nefarious kids. And they really mean business. Like, this device, the Splattle, is a lobotomizing apparatus.
Destructively nefarious kids. Splattle. Smart alecky prisoner lobotomizing apparatus terrifyingly tortures loser enemy.
Nigel and Lizzie get saved by the negative delightful children, aka the little traitor dudes for Children's Defense, who are these surfer-themed rebels for good in this universe. You know, one thing Mr. Warburton reveals he said he would never do in this show is an evil twin episode. But then they did this and everyone loved it. I've never really thought about my feelings on evil twin episodes. I guess they can be a bit basic or annoying when I think about it, but it's kinda cool to see a creator's thoughts on different tropes we see in shows. Negative number 1 and Lizzie make their way back to the real world, eventually replacing the rest of Sector V with their negative versions, except for number 4, who, as we know, isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. Like, he thinks 2 + 2 equals pizza. He does not understand the concept of numbers. He does, however, understand friendship, and he can tell this isn't the real number 3 just by looking into her eyes. That's sweet. Number 4 faces his fears by diving into the pool to fight the leader of this evil world, which is negative number 4, who has an evil goatee everyone roasts him for.
I got one. Okay, you should give that back to the goat you stole it from.
As you can clearly see, LeBron James.
Wallaby uses his intuition again and realizes if negative number 4 is his opposite, he must be a coward, so he defeats his evil counterpart alongside the other negative operatives who've had a change of heart. The kids next door end up burying number 4's pool with sand, which he actually loves. This is cool and all, but like, he just learned how to swim. He could have finally used the pool. It's a pretty cool episode and has some really interesting foreshadowing to future events in the series. Like, negative number 3 says she doesn't like number 4, but everything the negatives do is opposite, so Kooky must like Wallaby. They also show the human design of Father here, or Daddy as he's called here, and his design is pretty consistent to the Matrix parody episode last season, which is good to know as we're nearing the conclusion of the show that I won't spoil yet. The villain here is negative number 4, who is still a kid, so this has to be marked as a non-applicable entry. Let's move on. Episode 5, Caked 4, Children's Annual Competition exposes devilishly fiendish Operation Upriver. This is the 4th entry into the Cake series, in which the kids next door fight to stop the delightful children from enjoying their birthday cake, but this mission happens to align with Tubeathon, the big inner tube race competition. The delightful children are actually pretty fun here, and tell the kids they'll be giving away their cake for this birthday to the kid who wins Tubeathon. I love the hijinks throughout this episode. Like, not only is the sheer scale of it all kind of amazing, but each character's got a fun little thing going on. Like, number 1 helps disband the delightful children's giant battleship tube, and while some people have some crazy inner tubes like number 4's Tubezilla, or number 3's chill balloon tube, number 2 uses this plain old tube like his father did to win the very first Tubeathon. This is the first time we hear about number 2's dad, as we never saw him at the dinner murder mystery a few episodes ago, but the best I can find on the matter is a Kids Next Door fan forum from 2005 where Mr. Warburton answered some of these questions. The answers aren't too concrete though, like saying Hoagie Sr. might just be on a business trip or something. I also really like this one. Who names their kid Hoagie anyway? His real name could be Hogarth, right? Maybe? Or maybe his parents just like hoagies. I know I do. The delightful children along with father derail the race by bursting the dam and flooding the city, revealing this year's cake is being baked inside the skate park as a mixing bowl, so they'll need a giant amount of water, which is being funneled from the race along with all the kids. Have we had like true cannibalism in the show so far? Like, this may be the most heinous crime in the whole show. They are gonna eat the kids in a giant cake. Like, that wouldn't even taste good. Like, cannibalism aside, it seems a bit crazy to put meat on a cake, unless it's like a steak cake, which I looked up for this video, and suddenly lost my craving for the chicken nuggets. Hoagie's the only kid that doesn't get funneled into the cake, and realizes all the other kids are about to be baked alive just before crossing the finish line, turning around with no hesitation to go save his friends. I don't know if I'd be able to resist the temptation to quickly run a foot forward first and win the race before turning back. Like, it's right there. Though to be fair, I don't think he'd want to eat this cake anymore anyways. When number 2 arrives at the skate park, he gets into a fight with father, who reveals Hoagie Sr. was never a Tube-a-thon champion, and actually came in last place every year with his basic inner tube. I really like this plot twist, and it's very much like Darth Vader to me. Like, the way it's presented here is really like Star Wars vibes, and it's really dramatic. Mr. Warburton even reveals Cartoon Network asked them to tone down how brutal father was in this scene, telling Hoagie how much of a loser his dad was, but they fought to keep the scene as is, because it's important to the story, and I'm so glad they kept it. It not only gives me a deeper appreciation for the lore of the K&D's families, but it makes this next part hit that much harder. Father shoots a fireball at Hoagie, who keeps his faith his father was a winner, and in the true spirit of Farfigtuben, launches these inner tubes out of old Betsy, shooting father back into the giant mixing bowl to crack the bowl and flood cake batter all the way down the race course. The kids resume the Tube-a-thon race, and obviously Hoagie Gilligan Jr., the kid who saved everyone from being eaten, the kid who believes in the true spirit of tubing, is the only loser as everyone else has a 634-way tie for first place. The end credits do reveal number 2 wasn't the only loser though, cause number 4 got stranded on an island when he tried to run over a kid with his giant inner tube. We end on a sweet note with number 2 coming to the realization maybe his dad lied about winning Tube-a-thon, but he was at least telling the truth his tube would save all the children one day, leaving us with a bittersweet mystery of just who Hoagie Sr. is or was. Episode 6A, Sitter. Sweetheart's involvement transforms the evening's reality. Kree babysits Hoagie and Tommy as part of the Teen Ninjas operation to take all the kids and dump them into a whirlpool in the ocean. Child murder aside, I'm just distracted by the fact that teens have brought bedposts to life. Like, the rest of the technology relies on simple machines and mechanics, but the teens have some kind of dark magic going on to bring furniture to life. Number 2 gets into a fight with Kree on their horsebed things, ending with Kree giving number 2 a kiss as he falls into the whirlpool. For better or worse, Hoagie doesn't drown here, but it was all just a dream, and it's for the better because the villains didn't end up killing any kids here, but it's for the worse because I really don't like dream endings. It always makes me feel like it was a kind of a pointless episode. Like, it's definitely overthinking on my part, but like, the Tube-a-thon episode gave me a bit more of an appreciation for Hoagie, with his faith in his father who may or may not be alive, sticking to his family through to the end. But if it was a dream, I wouldn't really care. Here I kind of feel similarly, where I don't really care much about the events that transpired, but I will give the episode credit, because the sentient horses may have tipped off a bit more of a savvy viewer than myself that it was all a dream. The kids might have crazy technology, but there's a lot of science behind the weapons and inventions, most of the time. So yeah, this is a non-applicable entry on account of being a dream, so let's just move on. Episode 6B, Saturn. Stuff abducted turns up, revolving nowhere. Number 3's Rainbow Monkey gets abducted into space, where we see the Rainbow Monkeys now make the rings of Saturn, and it's always so cool and strange to see 2D shows from the early to mid-2000s that incorporate computer animation and random scenes. We've seen a little bit of computer animation in K&D before with the Matrix parody last season, but it's always so cool to see 2D characters in 3D CGI backgrounds. Anyways, number 3 gets abducted constructed into the start of an RPG. We see that this rainbow monkey robot prototype thing was rejected by kids because of its ugly appearance based off the scientists that crafted it during the rainbow monkey space race against the Russians. Fortunately, Kooky loves any rainbow monkey manufactured by an official licensee of the corporation, with the hug causing the robot to have a change of heart and release all of their friends. It's a bit of a weird episode, but to be fair, any episode revolving around the rainbow monkeys has been pretty strange so far. My initial reaction is to mark this episode as non-applicable to whether the adults were in the wrong or not, but to walk through my logic real quick, one could argue the scientists that created the rainbow monkey forever were in the wrong for creating this abomination in the first place, but that's not really nefarious, it's more just that these are scientists put on a secret base to create the perfect rainbow monkey before the Russians. Like, they're not designers or anything, really this was just an oversight by the US government. Maybe one could argue it was immoral to abandon this robot prototype since it clearly has sentient qualities, but I'd like to think the world didn't know this robot had feelings. Otherwise, a whole new scientific revolution would occur besides the Russian space race. Episode 7A, Chocolate. Candy hunting operatives chocolatize opponent, literally a touchy enemy. This episode is a continuation of the episode earlier in the season where Heinrich fell into the chocolate lava, as we see he now is a chocolate version of Iceman, as we see the storyboards from this episode directly reference the Marvel superhero. Abby flies a plane with a chocolate Heinrich into the sun in order to melt him, and then bring him to the K&D base where they cure him of this chocolate mutation. And the most interesting aspect of this episode to me is the relationship between Abby and Heinrich. Like, they clearly had some history between the two before their first meeting we saw, and we can tell Abby clearly cares about him despite his schemes, not only getting him the help he needs here, but she even brings him a burger when he's locked up at the K&D Arctic base. And he's even got a picture of a cheeseburger taped up in his cell, which is interesting, like you think it would be candy or something. When Abby visits, we also see the Toilinators imprisoned here and being visited by who I presume are his parents. And you know, now that I think about it, we never really learned the Toilinators' backstory. In the K&D comic Operation History, which was written by Mr. Warburton, it reveals the Toilinator was a businessman who got trapped in a porta potty and was given powers by this toilet spirit. Yeah, back to the end of the episode, Heinrich's upset with the burger because it has pickles on it, and I just gotta say, we've had our backs and forths on other foods throughout the series like butterscotch, which I truly have come around to, but I don't think I can ever trust someone who doesn't like pickles. This is the true mark of a villain. Overall, this is a decent episode. I wonder if it would have hit harder if this was a big two-part special with Heinrich as opposed to breaking this continuity up over half a season. But regardless, it's still an interesting callback and a pretty dang good looking episode. Episode 7B, Matador. Misbehaving agent teases adult during organized recreation. Number 4 is a bully, the kids next door version of a Matador who partakes in bully fights against these deranged adults. It's a pretty long and cruel sequence, and you wouldn't believe the song Number 4 whistles as he returns home. This episode does create an interesting moral quandary where the kids next door acknowledge, yes, they do fight adults, but fighting the adults is a pretty cruel and inhumane activity when done in a bull ring, which a lot of people would probably agree is true about real bullfighting. Number 4's commitment to the K&D is put into question when he abandons their mission to compete in the big bully fight that night, and the bull turns out to be Number 4's dad. So Number 4 refuses to fight his dad, escaping from the bully ring, which ironically all the kids chase the Beatles out of, kinda showing that they're the true bullies all along. We learned the adults here were pumped full of coffee to make them go crazy, and they were brought here because they believed it was a How to Be a Better Father seminar. So Number 4 rides the bulls out of the arena, saving not only the adults, but the rest of the kids next door, who were handily defeated by this random soccer mom they were trying to stop.
I don't know what's worse, getting kicked in the face or the humiliation.
So Number 4 saves everyone and gets the soccer mom arrested, and then kicks the Number 1 soccer ball in the head, and we even have a little epilogue in the credits where Number 4 and his dad have a little bully fight for old time's sakes before getting chased off by all the kids from earlier. One of the funniest parts of this little sequence to me is you can see just a little corner of the pool, which is still filled with sand from a few episodes ago. It's a fun little bit of world building to see these details carry on. It really makes it feel just that much more real deal? Are the adults in the wrong here? Well, the soccer mom was, but she was more of a background character. The focal point being the brainwashed dads have to be in the right, cause all they were trying to do was be better fathers here before they got brainwashed. Episode 8A, Lunch. Lizzie underappreciates Nigel's chow time hardworkingness. Lizzie convinces Nigel not to work through lunch and actually eat today, but their lunches are stolen by a new group of villains led by Robin Food. You know, spelt like Robin Hood. They steal from the young to feed the old, which is an interesting concept. Like, as we've seen so far, old people always want to overfeed the young here. Lizzie yells at Nigel to let them go, cause as she stated, she doesn't want Nigel working through lunch, so she gets into this giant locker mecha called the Laka-Saka, and it even has a little CGI Lizzie in it, which is pretty unusual for these little cutaways. I do wonder if the premise of this episode was inspired at least partially by the fact Mr. Warburton and Mo Willems would often go discuss story ideas over lunch. Like, even the Pink Eye episode was discussed over food. How does one eat while talking about the most heinous moment in TV history? The combat here looks really good, and there's a really funny twist here that Robin Food doesn't actually steal for the benefit of the senior citizens, but because they're too lazy to make old people the food that they'd actually want to eat. Mr. Warburton brings up a pretty good point that this episode really embodies the core of K&D, with adults that do evil in a way even more childish than the kids. These adults are obviously in the wrong. Like, you could maybe make an argument if they swapped out the unhealthy food for the kids, they could at least try to justify this. But no, the kids were just gonna starve here. Episode 8B, Munchies. Morning uncovers needed crunchiness hiding in enemy store. Man, we've had a lot of food episodes this season. The kids next door sneak into the supervillain supermarket to get the last box of Rainbow Munchies cereal, even fighting father, Mr. Boss, and Spankulot to do this. Mr. Warburton mentioned several times about how episodes like this one in particular would have been made much easier if they had modern technology, especially CGI, as the backgrounds could have been animated more easily, along with the vehicles and ships that could have probably had a 2D render on them. I think it's important to reiterate this because this really is one of the best looking cartoons I can think of. Not to mention there were cartoons made in the following decade that heavily incorporated CGI with pretty negative results, such as Shaolin Chronicles and their CGI showdowns. All of this to say 3D elements would have most likely made parts of the show easier to produce, but advanced technology doesn't necessarily make a great show. This is a really great villain all-star episode. Like, not only do the kids fight the adults are all grabbing the cereal from each other. In the end, Nightbrace steals the Rainbow Munchies, revealing he doesn't plan to eat the sugary cereal, but destroy it for the sake of everyone's teeth, so an alliance is formed between Nigel and Father, as the entire store beats up Nightbrace and has a big fun breakfast. It's a really fun episode, and I love seeing everyone get along. It's just so cool and funny to me. There's something about this scene in particular that really gives me One Piece vibes. Like, I don't know why, but maybe I'm not too crazy for thinking that, because I should note Mr. Warburton is a pretty big One Piece fan, and this print he made of the kids next door as One Piece characters even appeared in a Shonen Jump issue. I unfortunately have to put Nightbrace in the wrong for destroying the sugary cereal, but I think he makes a good point, so if anyone wants to argue he was just misunderstood, I'd be open to hearing that. Episode 9A, Not, Kids' Necks Overwhelmingly Tied. This episode starts with a snake-like necktie attaching itself to Nigel as part of the school's new uniform, and seeing Nigel's British bedsheets here was really the first time I realized he's supposed to be British. Like, as a kid, I never really thought of this based off his accent or anything. Nigel's tie is removed by this famous tie hunter named Moose, a former accountant who couldn't take his business uniform code any longer, and seeks to eliminate ties everywhere. It's a weird episode. Like, there's this golem-like creature and a double-crossing son of the department head Moose worked for, and as odd of an episode as it is, it has one of the coolest, most dramatic scenes in the whole show when Moose sacrifices himself for the kids. In the end, we see Moose returns to his accounting job, but is given a package of spray starch from an undercover number 1, reawakening his hatred for ties. Moose is really the only adult we see in this episode, and I think he fought for a pretty just cause of not making people wear snakes on their necks. So for a rare instance of season, I'm gonna have to mark the adults as in the right here. Like, ties are uncomfortable, man. Episode 9B, Closet, Child Lost on Seriously Elevated Tundra. This episode feels like a very classic Kids Next Door formula, with Sector V going on a rescue mission through the mountains of an unclean closet to search for a kid buried under an avalanche of clothes. This kid Billy's taken away by an abominable snow jacket who's actually kind of adorable. Despite this, the main issue of the episode is that Billy refuses to wear this snow jacket because it's ugly, but he ultimately accepts wearing the snow jacket so that it doesn't kill the rest of the Kids Next Door. The end credits even show us the fun Billy and the jacket have together, like ding dong ditching Mr. Wink and Mr. Fib, but it ends on a really sad note, with Billy crying as we see the snow jacket got shrunk in the wash. Like, that's not funny, I'm just sad now. This is probably my least favorite episode this season, but it has great backgrounds and a fun character design, and most importantly, another instance where the adults are actually in the right for telling the kid to clean his closet. Like, that's pretty reasonable. Episode 10, Snowing. Sickly Nigel opposes warped incumbents' nasty grasp. This episode follows a snow day that parodies Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, with school bus walkers and 4th grade President Jimmy as Darth Vader, known as Master President here. The concept of school bus walkers that can pick up everyone and bring them to school is actually pretty genius. Like, this is amazing technology I would not want incorporated into the real world, because I wouldn't want kids to be deprived of snow days. Like, those are some of the most memorable days for me growing up. Nowadays, I think some schools actually just have kids do class online so they don't have to make up the days at the end of the year, which to me is just evil. Like, snow days are integral to childhood. Jimmy uses the brainwashing helmet on Lizzie to make her his girlfriend, which as always is extremely creepy whenever this helmet shows up. Nigel uses the soup as a much more literal version of the Force, which short circuits the helmet and frees all the kids to enjoy the snow day, and the episode ends with Jimmy's assistant Anna revealing she helped free all the kids because she loves Jimmy and doesn't want him to be with Lizzie. Number 4 says this is dumb and gross, which upsets Cookie because she obviously likes him, and this feeling isn't one-sided, as we see at the start of the episode Wallaby has a drawing of number 3 in his room. Foreshadowing. Jimmy's a 4th grader, so it's a non-applicable entry to the spreadsheet, but if he was an adult, he would obviously be guilty here. Like, he's not just wrong, he should be in jail. Episode 11, Maurice. Mature agent undergoes reprogramming into childhood's enemy. This episode's a two-parter featuring the decommission of Maurice, as we start 3 years ago where we see Abigail and Cree actually got along, working together as members of the Kids Next Door. We even see this is where Abigail got her hat, a hand-me-down from Cree, possibly suggesting despite their opposition and current hatred for each other, the sisters probably love each other deep down. Back in the present day, it's Maurice's 13th birthday, where he's decommissioned before he could ever solve this chickenpox crisis that affected the Kids Next Door, and this scene is just so cool to me. Like, it's dramatic and sad, yet badass, with Maurice fearlessly walking into his lobotomy. Abigail's pretty upset and traumatized by the events that have occurred, but number 1 has a plan to monitor Maurice to ensure he doesn't get recruited by the teenagers. The kids infiltrate these giant ships the teens have, which I will admit are really cool. Like, they got giant TVs with the football game on, and they even rock out to some music which you may recognize from a meme a few years ago.
I hate kids! Kids are brats! Kids are stupid! I hate kids! They ask dumb questions! Stupid kids! I hate kids a lot! Dumb kids!
Cree shoots number 5 with some chickenpox laser, and I'm gonna give you a fair warning. I think this may be the most disgusting episode in the whole show. Like, this is actually kind of worse than the pink eye episode, so I'm giving a legitimate trypophobia warning. You can skip to the next episode at this timestamp, or using the chapters section on YouTube to go to episode 12. Okay, for those of you that have stayed, what were they thinking? These chickens squirm like worms, and it's just gnarly. I don't remember thinking much of this scene as a kid, but it's just awful. Anyways, number 5 infiltrates the Chickenpox Island, where we learn Cree has built the Chickenpox cannon and plans to nuke all the kids to keep them in bed for 3 whole weeks. Before number 5 can stop the Chickenpox cannon, she's stopped by Maurice, the man this whole mission was for. This is arguably the lowest moment in the entire series so far, for number 5 to perform this whole mission for the sake of her friend, only for this to be stopped with him along with her sister. All the while, she grows closer and closer closer to becoming a teenager herself, all the while having tapeworms coming out of her head. Like really, when these aren't drawn at a close-up, they're just tapeworms. Maurice pushes Kree into the chickenpox cannon, which gets redirected towards the high school, giving the teens chickenpox as he reveals he's one of the few teens who have been selected to stay with the K&D undercover after their 13th birthday, but it's super top secret and she can't tell anyone. This is one of my favorite episodes of the show, not really for the content of the episode, but for the lore of the K&D universe it provides. I feel like without this episode, rewatching through the 4 seasons so far would just feel so hopeless to me. Like the kids are all fighting against an inevitable evil and fate. The end credits scene is especially memorable to me, with number 5 walking through town with the cold distant glares from the adults around her. One of the teenagers winks at number 5, the same as Maurice did, as if to tell her that she's also an undercover operative, and while things may seem bleak for Abigail, there's still hope. This episode was actually the product of writer Mo Willems announcing his departure from K&D as he moved on to be a very successful children's book author. So he wrote an episode about a kid named Mo that left his team, which is a really interesting way to turn lemons into lemonade. Now you could make the argument teens aren't adults, but I think for the sake of this video, a teenager would probably be judged as an adult if they built a chickenpox cannon and performed acts of bioterrorism, so I'm gonna mark Kree as in the wrong here. It's not as bad as father literally trying to eat kids and ice cream, but it's still pretty bad. Episode 12A Love, Little Operative Very Emotional, is another big musical episode, but in the form of a school play. Number 3 sings about being in love, but the lover in question is the delightful children from down the lane, which, you know, if they're happy, I'm happy for them. The delightful children reveal they've bribed the director to get the lead role in the play to win the Best Actor award, even if they need to destroy all the other kids to win this. It's pretty goofy yet cool to see the kids dodging lasers in a choreographed manner. Like, the show really nails what makes musical episodes work. In the end, we see Kooky still upset about the play being ruined, so number 4 offers to perform with her, and it goes exactly as you'd expect.
We're just the cutesy wootsy lootsiest pair.
It's just a goo-goo-goo affair.
Ow, forget this crud!
What? We're just getting to the really cute part. Come on.
The delightful children are in the wrong for trying to laser everyone to get the Best Actor award, but they're just kids at school here who are trying to win the love and attention of the adults with their performance. Their actions are clearly in the wrong, but I really do feel like they're just kids here and not an extension of father and the other adults. So for one of the few times for the delightful children, I'm gonna mark them as non-applicable on account of being kids. Episode 12B Couch, Creepy Otherworld Under Cushiony Heat. Numbers 3 and 4 fight over the remote because he wants to watch blue while his inconsiderate friend wants to watch orange. Do any of you call the remote the clicker? It's one of those words that drives me crazy. Clicker. Clicker. It's like moist for me. Number 4 falls down the couch to get the remote, where he learns there's a whole empire of Daves that live down here.
Dave?
Hey.
And Dave. Yo! And that's Dave back there? What's happening, baby?
The music playing when Dave says hi is so funny to me. Like, why did they do that? Number 4 gets into a Dust Bunny chariot race against Dave, and this arena looks pretty sick. Like, I really can't stress enough how beautiful all the backgrounds are. This one in particular gives me Mario Kart vibes, like some kind of combo between Donut Plains, Ribbon Road, and a Bowser's Castle. As number 4 and Dave fight over the remote, it constantly changes the channel in the overworld, so number 3 jumps down, ruining the sanctity of this man cave by having a girl touch the remote, as numbers 3 and 4 escape from the stampeding dust bunnies, jumping down this pit and ending up in China. This is a really cool location for an episode, and the Daves are really fun. Like, honestly, I don't even think I can say they're in the wrong. They got good vibes and stuff. I can't hate. But thinking about it further, I guess they did try to trample numbers 3 and 4 with dust bunnies just because a girl touched the remote, which is pretty wrong. Though some may argue this is just base. Episode 13A, Dodgeball, Dangerous Old Dude's Game excellently beats all Little Losers. This is one of my favorite K&D episodes as it combines two of my favorite things, sports and animation. That is, if you consider dodgeball a sport. As always, the sense of scale and detail is amazing. To have a dodgeball wizard single-handedly destroy this temple via dodgeball to prove that an adult is the best player in the world. The monk inside the temple tells the wizard there's one stronger than him, the one who goes by Beetle. We've seen Wallaby throw dodgeballs pretty well in the series so far, like in the underground below the school when they were saving the 300-year-old kid last season, but it's not Wallaby that's the legend of the prophets, but his little brother Joey. As you probably know, the Beatles family is Australian, so the little brother being named Joey is like a young kangaroo, a Joey. They have a pretty supernatural fight, and the wiki suggests it may reference the Jet Li film Hero, which does have some pretty similar shots and looks really cool. In the end, Joey breaks the wizard's nose with a dodgeball, winning this duel and proving kids rule supreme at dodgeball, or something. I don't know, I don't think I can rule the dodgeball wizard as in the wrong. To me, he just wanted to compete at the highest level, and this was before like local dodgeball leagues existed everywhere for adults, like work leagues and stuff. This might be a little random, but does anyone remember that show Extreme Dodgeball? It was one of my favorite shows growing up, and sometimes I think about making a video on it, but I don't really think many people would care much for it, so I might just make it as a Patreon exclusive or something, but I'd love to know if any of you remember it, because very few people I know have ever heard of it. And speaking of Patreon, before we reach the final episode of the season and our final countdown, I wanted to give a quick thanks to my Patreon and Ko-fi supporters, as well as all of you who've properly identified the Carmen Sandiegos in the Ed, Ed, and Eddie video. So for the Carmen Sandiegos, YouTube user JackJax is the very first person to find all 5 Carmen Sandiegos, so give it up for JackJax. You're very goated, and you get your very own, very special shout out. And I wanted to give a quick thank you to the rest of you who were able to identify all the Carmen Sandiegos. Thank you all so much. And real quick for Patreon and Ko-fi, thank you Flinley, Jack C, Jakira, Jeffrey R, Paul H, Richard M, Robert Rock, James Bond 3W, Buggy, and Mode 8FX. So on to the final episode. Episode 13B, F.E.R.A.L, Friends Extract Really Apified Leader. This episode brings us back to the Rainbow Monkey Island, where the delightful children have stolen this sacred Rainbow Monkey tablet with a secret code on it. The kids next door try to stop them, but get trapped in a pitfall, and when Nigel reunites with the gang, he's been turned into a rainbow monkey somehow. A Grainbow Monkey? We have these scientists argue about how to proceed with the brainwashed Nigel, number 71.562, number 74.239, and number 275, who's based off a kid named Jacob, who was granted his wish via the Make-A-Wish Foundation to appear in Kids Next Door. This is so sweet, and at the end of the day is a big part of why animation is so special to me. The Kids Next Door have had a real person on an episode before, but unlike number 24, who kind of flashes on screen for a second for winning a contest in the past, number 274 seems to appear alongside the other scientists when they're on screen, but has no dialogue lines. There's also this artwork made by the character designer Tom Evans that has a super cool design, like only the Kids Next Door could make a cut-in-half bowling pin on a half bowling ball helmet go hard. Anyways, the experiment run on Nigel doesn't help revert him back to his normal human form, nor does the arrival of Lizzie. Only the sheer rage from Nigel learning the whole operation for this Rainbow Monkey code was all for a keychain.
And whoever breaks the super happy code of Sharon wins a free keychain!
A keychain!
So this is how season 4 ends, not with a big finale episode. Like if the episode with Maurice being decommissioned ended season 4, it would have been absolute cinema. I mean, it still was, but even more, you know? Were the adults in the wrong here? Actually, no. The delightful children were just trying to get these keychains. They had just as much of a right to these as the K&D, so I've got to mark them as in the right here, which leads us to our final season 4 countdown of Kids Next Door. Now, removing our 7 non-applicable entries from the list, the adults were right 5 times and wrong 10 times, giving us a 1-to-2 ratio. Oddly enough, this is the least amount of in the wrong verdicts we've had in a season so far. It's also the season with the least amount of different episodes, as we had more 2-part specials. I think this all kind of points to the fact this season had a few more lore-heavy episodes and focused less on the kids fighting random villains, and more on somewhat sillier plot lines, like the delightful children interfering with an inner tube race or a school play. That and the antagonists of more episodes did happen to be kids like Heinrich and Mushi, who according to the dramatization may actually be an adult. So that's all for season 4. Next K&D video will not only cover season 5, but also the movie Operation Zero, which I'm so excited to finally talk about. We've got some other videos in the works, so stick around, we got a lot to cover. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye.